Hello, my name is Phoebe and in November I took part in the Doors Readathon. So if you haven't heard of the Doors Readathon before, it's a new readathon run by 3 channels. So the main channel is Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, but then also helping her is Meg from Meg with Books and Tazmyn from Tea Books and Tazmyn. Start of November, each of the hosts posted one video and you chose from the first 3 videos which prompt you wanted to go for. You watched halfway through that video to get the prompt, went away and read your chosen book, and then came back and chose your next prompt by opening the door that best reflected your experience of the book. So I'll go through my examples in a minute. So that went on until you kept opening doors until you got to the final door. They did a few live shows with reading sprints and games. I managed to catch a couple of them, they were super fun. They had some guest hosts as well because they sort of roped in some other YouTubers as well to help present some of the other doors. One happened in the first week of November and a lot of people tried to get the readathon done in that first week, but they have been running it throughout all of November and they've been doing some prizes. I think there was the first person to finish, and I think the first person finished in about 12 hours, which I was definitely not that person. And then they've got prizes for vlogs as well and all different things like that, and they were a bit of a surprise as well. Choose your book to go with the prompt, but I ended up going with a book that had 5 words in the title and also the author had 5 syllables in their name, and that was My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyenkam Braithwaite. I did enjoy this read. I think it was super quick, which was really nice, a great way to start a readathon. I think I managed to get this one done in the first day. I do think though that, I don't know if it's the sort of marketing by the publishers or kind of how it's been blurbed by sort of booktubers and bookstagram. It wasn't what I expected. I was expecting something a bit more, I guess, thrillery, and it really wasn't. It was very internal to the main character. There were some flashbacks, but it wasn't very high action, which is sort of went against what I was expecting. And I think kind of had I known that it was going to be more of a quiet book, I would have been prepared for that and would have expected it. But I did really enjoy it. I liked sort of what it explored, the characters, especially the 2 sisters, how the 2 characters sort of were explored with each other. But ultimately for me it was a 3-star read because it just wasn't really what I was looking for and it didn't grab me particularly. The next prompt was old and new. So depending on your rating you would have ended up going through a different door and come to a different prompt. So mine was old and new, but a lot of other people would have had a different one. For old and new, I chose The Psychology of Time Travel by Kate Mascarenhas. I think it was quite obvious why I picked this one. It's about time travel. Part of the story is set in the 60s and part of it is set kind of more modern. I did find this one quite hard to get into. I think it was quite a slow start and sort of my head wasn't in the best place at the time that I was starting this one. So I did it took me a while to get into the flow of the book. I did post on Instagram a little story asking sort of if anyone had read it and sort of if it did pick up, and I got a really nice message from Emma herself, and we had a bit of a chat about the book, and she said sort of it does start a little bit slower but is really, really good once it gets going. I did end up DNFing just because I wanted to kind of keep the momentum going and my head wasn't in the right place to engage with the book and I really wanted to enjoy it at a later date. And that's the best thing about this readathon. They encouraged DNFs. Every single door had a DNF option, which was really, really handy. I think feeling confident to DNF is so helpful with reading. I don't think anyone should push themselves to read a book that they're not enjoying and that they just can't like push themselves to get through, especially if you think you might get to it at a later date and might enjoy it more then. The question at the end of the old and new prompt, which gave me my next door, was did you guess where the book was going? Obviously I DNF'd, so I didn't guess where it was going and I went through the DNF door. Through that door I found Cree Miles, who is someone that I've not come across before. I really love their energy. so really happy to have found them through the readathon. I think that's such a cool thing as well, with having so many co-hosts of the readathon. We got to be introduced to different people, at least if you didn't end up with two of the same person giving you a prompt like I did. And I ended up going with Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. I don't think there's anything wrong with Penelope Douglas's books. I really enjoy them. I think though, sort of I'm a little bit older maybe than the target audience, and it just feels like a bit of a throwback for me, like something really easy to get my teeth into and really enjoyable. And I definitely needed that after the first two didn't go so great. So Punk 57 is about these two teenagers who grew up writing letters to each other but they'd never met, and then through essentially a misunderstanding fell out and stopped writing to each other until they're sort of thrown together in their last year of school. So with this book there is a lot of sort of teenage drama. I did really enjoy that though, and something with Penelope Douglas, I think she writes her kind of 18-year-olds quite mature in terms of sort of what they're doing, if not necessarily in terms of how they handle things. So I think that's why sort of Penelope Douglas is quite enjoyable even as an older reader, because it's teenagers but they're probably doing things maybe they shouldn't be doing at that age. The question at the end of Cree's prompt was, did you like the setting? And for me the answer was kinda, because I'm not in love with high school set books, but I think it was handled quite well, and it was fitting for the story that was being told. It just wasn't my favourite. I probably would prefer books set in college or university compared to high school. So that door took me through to Joel from Fictional Fates, and this was my final prompt. So that one was weapon. Now I had a bit of a think about this one. Sort of Joel gave some ideas about what you could choose for this one. It could be a weapon on the cover, it could be a weapon obviously in the title, something like the subtle knife. But sort of I had a look through my TBR and I didn't have anything physical or ebook. However, I did have the sequel to Skyward, which is one of my favourite books of the year, and ended up choosing that book. But because I'd enjoyed Skyward so much earlier in the year, I'd basically overhyped myself and couldn't bring myself to open the book and start reading in case it was a disappointment. So I sat on it for about a week and I hadn't read a single page in that time, and I ended up basically just deciding that I needed to pick something else. I wanted to get the readathon done, I needed to keep some momentum, and I was basically stopping myself from reading anything just by trying to force myself to read this book. I ended up cheating a little bit with this one, I think, and I went with What Cats Want by Dr. Yuki Hattori. It is a non-fiction book that's basically some super cute drawings and facts about cats. So I sat down and in about half an hour read through, learned some fun facts about cats, and I think I'm going to re-gift this one because it was super fun but not necessarily something that I'm going to keep around. So I finally finished, I got to the last prompt, I opened the door and it took me to a super cute video on Tazmyn's channel, and it was the three hosts basically congratulating everybody for getting to the end of the readathon, thanking everyone for taking part, and it was really just so much fun. If they run it again next year I'll definitely be taking part, and hopefully I'll be able to do an actual vlog rather than a wrap up like this. I wasn't planning on filming anything, but I had the urge today, so I thought why not? If you got to the end of me taking you through my 1000 Doors Readathon journey, then thank you so much, and comment down below if you took part, and if you didn't take part then let me know what you would have picked for the prompts that I got. A special thank you for reaching the end. I can introduce you to my cat, who has been screaming throughout the end of this video. This is Minx!